Hey everyone, it's John here from Hot Take Hockey, back with another video. This video is on Seth Jones, the potential blockbuster trades for Jones. We've talked about Patty Kane, we've talked about Johnny Toews, we've talked about the Hawks trading different guys, and while they just signed that big contract to Seth Jones and gave up big assets, could we see a scenario where he is traded somewhere and the Hawks either get those assets back, get similar assets back, or get a different kind of player? I'm going to talk about a couple scenarios here. Seth Jones, Texas represent. I know there's been conversations of Patty Kane going to Dallas, but this is one of the conversations I want to have because Dallas missing out on bringing back Klingberg, missing out on Petrie, missing out on Brent Burns. Maybe they look at a right-shot defenseman like Seth Jones. I think there's different scenarios here. I think the Dallas Stars have a couple bigger contracts like a Sagan and Ben. I don't know if they'd be involved here, but the Stars also have other scenarios like Hudobin and other contracts that they could include to make the money work. I think Heiskanen, Seth Jones, then Lindell. Like, it could be a nasty top pair if Seth Jones finds his way with a really good defenseman. I also think it's interesting that I saw some Edmonton Seth Jones stuff, and I think Oilers and Hawks have been connected in a few different ways lately. I think the biggest hot take blockbuster, and honestly, again, I don't care if people want to give me shit, but it's just a funny idea, and I think I saw it on Cap Friendly one time, was Oilers Darnell Nurse contract, how risky that is and how bad that might age. Imagine you're just the Oilers and Hawks and just wait, hey, let's just shoot the shit and go for a one-for-one blockbuster. Seth Jones for Darnell Nurse. Both contracts over $9 million per year. That would be hilarious. I mean, if you're the Oilers, I think having Broberg on that left side, Bouchard kind of lonely on that right side if you move Barry, like we'll see what happens, but that would be the most nuts blockbuster. Other teams I could see it on Seth Jones, it's hard to say. I think a team like Detroit, I think if a couple of contracts there don't work out, I'm already like, we'll see what happens with that Sherratt contract. Again, I'm not counting out Stevie Y to go after another bigger defenseman sooner rather than later to help out Sider in that top four. And then Edmondson on how things work out with him, because I think Detroit's defense could end up being nasty. I would say my massive hot take would be Nashville and the fact that they have a couple big forward contracts. Seth Jones started his career in Nashville. Obviously didn't work out because there was a big log jam, like it was crowded on that defense, but it could end up being a fit. And I mean, imagine Seth Jones and Roman Josi on that top pair. That would be nuts. I think Nashville, that would be a huge splash, and then you have a second pair of McDonough and Ekholm. That top four would be nuts, like gross. And then maybe you can attach a couple assets to Ryan Johansson to make the money work. Past that, I don't have too many more suggestions, but I did want to just kind of start a Seth Jones conversation, because if the Hawks are trying to go through a rebuild, it really doesn't make sense to have Seth Jones there. The only thing that makes sense is Seth Jones' brother's there, right? Like Caleb Jones and Seth Jones are together in Chicago right now, so maybe Seth Jones just wants to stay there, stay with his brother, and then maybe he sees it through with Chicago turning it around. I just think overall it's an interesting conversation. But yeah, guys, give your thoughts. I don't really have too many other teams I would suggest in terms of a Seth Jones ad, especially with the cap, right? Like, I think you have to wait a couple of years, like 2025, when the cap starts going up a lot, then more teams could be in this conversation. I would also just say Anaheim would be an interesting team in the conversation after just signing Klingberg to 1 year. If they didn't bring Klingberg back, maybe Seth Jones would be the replacement next offseason. But we'll see what happens. So thank you guys so much for, hey, it's just an idea. It's just a conversation. Would Seth Jones get traded at some point over the next year? If the Hawks say goodbye to Patty Kane, say goodbye to Johnny Toews, maybe he would be the next guy out. All right, guys, subscribe, like, comment, notification bell. We'll see you on the next video or stream.